The issue of the environment is a social justice issue, not just a thing of defending nature, you can say, for its own sake. More, how does inequality feed environmental degradation?
The big concept here that I want to write down is the concept of environmental justice. And what this concept really looks at is that there is a fair distribution of the benefits and burdens, of the environmental benefits and burdens within society.
A new report has been released measuring environmental inequality. Researchers looked at industrial air pollution exposure in the United States across all 50 states and compared exposure based on race and economics. What came out of it? What were some of the most alarming findings?
So, we find consistently that poor people and minorities are disproportionately affected by pollution exposure.
The greatest challenge for the next generation is the struggle for environmental justice, because some communities don't have access to clean water, clean air, safe schools, environmental protection. Some communities don't have the wealth or the complexion for protection. Those communities are called sacrifice zones, areas that are targeted for the disproportionate burden of pollution, for the byproducts of our consumerism, of industrial disregard. Now, we call this environmental racism.
This is the most dire time our planet has ever faced. We just got finished with the hottest year in the history of the world. This year will break that record. We're here today because there is no environmental justice today. They had people in hazmat suits wearing respiratory gear 10 feet away from children's bedrooms. Nobody in those bedrooms had any kind of protective gear.
What would happen if there was an accident? And part of that is what they call the worst case scenario. Inside this circle, depending on which way the wind blows, all these people will suffer serious and irreversible health effects with short-term exposure. Within this zone, if you're exposed for short exposure, at that level of toxicity, you would be dead.
Through Bel Air, they're not going through Palos Verdes estates. They're going through the neighborhoods where people can't fight back.
If you couldn't go to Beverly Hills or, something like that, and have that, they wouldn't do that. But over here, they don't care.
Now, sacrifice zones are local and they're global.
The total area in which Texaco polluted is about the size of the state of Rhode Island. We are suing for environmental cleanup.
Que hoy decenas de hombres y mujeres están padeciendo cáncer y están muriendo en la actualidad.
Analysis of our water and soil samples are proving that they're guilty of massive contamination.
Esto no es contaminación, esto es una explotación industrial permitida por la ley.
Usted es un abogado corrupto. Usted es un abogado corrupto de Texas.
People are fed up with corruption. They're fed up with foreign oil companies. They've just had it.
These people have been systematically poisoned.
One of the most marginalized people on earth. Fighting one of the most powerful companies in the world.
Texaco hizo cualquier barbaridad de cosas. Texaco responde por lo de él.
We use science and research, innovative methods, and untraditional partnerships to have an impact on local, state, and federal policy that impacts our environmental protection, children's environmental health, and climate change. And so we look at a number of priorities. Access to good food, especially in schools, where so many of our kids get their meals every day. Reducing waste and garbage, having clean air and healthy indoor environments, open space and parks, toxic-free products, equitable transit, and also making sure that land use and zoning are appropriate for our communities. So I would ask you, how do you define a sustainable community?